Friday on purpose. We planned this Friday in order to get some people here that we thought should be here and they expressed a strong desire to be here. But we didn't know what Friday would do. It's not the traditional banquet time for a sports activity or academic activity. I am pleased that the turnout is great. Before we go any farther, I want to give a round of applause and with the meat was delicious as well as the plates that everybody else brought. Ken did a great job on the meat. It is with joy and gladness that I start these evening's activities. Who would have thought that we would have so much to be thankful for and proud of? First, I'd like to recognize some important supporters that have shared somewhat in our success through their assistance to the promotion of soccer as a viable and sporting alternative to place at high school level. I'd like to thank Kroger's and Randy Waters for his support. I'd like to thank our media representatives. I've seen Ross Cook, Joey, his pictures. I think Garrett helped out a little bit. People from TV 35, Bill Terry, Joe Gillis. While we're talking about TV, I'll throw Dave Duncan in there for his video that was shown on TV 35. I'd like to thank the Dublin Youth Soccer Association. I don't see Dean here tonight, but I think about every other officer and board member here. Jason activity, responsibility that they have. I'd like to thank the Parks and Recreation Board. I'd like to especially thank Mike Coleman for coming out and lining the field for us. Shamrock Bowl, towards the end of the year, we were deluged with rain. We didn't know if we were going to be able to play or what the story was. We got the fields lined and they were in excellent shape for all our locations. I'd like to thank the school officials who supported us not only tonight but all throughout the year. Dr. Warning, who as you know is in the hospital. Mr. Waller, who's here. Assistant principals also at the high school. I'd like to thank Mr. Wade at the junior high school for his understanding and support. I'd like to thank Mrs. Hodges for what she's been able to do for us, which is no small amount. She's done a lot for us over at the junior high. I'd now like to thank the people that made this season an extra special one. The members of this Dublin Soccer Boosters Association have worked together to raise the funds to give our team the little things that can make a big difference. The officers that have worked and suffered with me are as follows. Vice President Bill Thacker, Secretary and Treasurer Mary Duncan, our Board Directors Al Langford, Bill Murray, Larry McClure. Key people who cannot be overlooked are Susan and Dick Frost, Lisa and Virgil Hollingsworth, Jack and Jenny Owens, Don and Sue Ellen Moe, Delma Marlin, Dr. Al Langford and his wife Jill. They have worked together to put this, Elvis is responsible for her primary assignment all year long is in the awards banquet. She wasn't responsible for finding people for refreshments, but we kept telling her at our meetings that your turn's coming. Well, it came and she pulled together a good crew and put together a nice banquet for us. We really thank you, Jill. Susan Frost is like a demon with details, I'll tell you. When it comes to finding people to get together the snacks that the players took on board the buses, post-game drinks, halftime drinks and oranges, things like that. She was great at that. She was Lisa helped in no small measure with that also. When we asked for volunteers at the beginning of the season for coordinating the refreshment stand, they had Don Mullen and Jack Owens said they would. Well, that was very nice of them, and they did. But I know that they had a lot of help from Ginny Owens and Llewellyn. And that's probably the way, and that's the way it ought to be. And it was great. The Booster Club worked hard to try and make sure the team had pregame snacks, halftime drinks, and oranges, and post-game drinks. We also worked to organize a barbecue chicken dinner that served as our primary fundraiser. We're still back and forth. Our last home game served as an occasion to get together and have a lean roast for players and families. We also raised the funds to ensure that every player and statistician in our coach received a free Dublin soccer t-shirt. At no small effort, we operated a refreshment stand for our home team. And this served to provide a very modest income, but more important, it made it that much easier to attract new fans into the Shamrock Bowl to watch soccer, share in the soccer experience. For many, it was their first taste of soccer at the highly competitive level that this team played. We organized several team breakfasts that were served in the high school cafeteria. Also, jackets were purchased for those lettering players in accordance with established athletic department policy. We did these things to try and show the players and the team how much we were and continue to be behind them. Let me now introduce our speaker. He's no stranger to many of us. When we were a fledgling organization, I asked him to speak at our awards banquet, and I would not have been surprised if he had been too busy for us. We were just getting off the ground, and here was a Division I, NCAA Division I soccer coach. Well, he wasn't too busy for us then, and he was not tonight either. We've come so far since many of us first met him. I hope that he too feels that he's been a part of our success. We have been sending players to his Georgia Southern University Eagles soccer camps for at least 3 straight years. The hard work and time his staff has placed in our boys has contributed in no small way to their improvement and success on the field. At this camp the last 2 years, we've always had enough Dublin players to make a Dublin team for full field scrimmages. We then take on the best of the rest, and I believe we've always won these big games. Very amazing and fulfilling to see that. Of course, when the mini games get to the phase where they take on the camp staff, it's a little different. During these games with the camp staff, something spectacular happens. What is explained during the morning session and during some of the smaller afternoon sessions comes alive. You see the halfback holding the ball for the striker going by. You see the striker calling for that halfback. You see an overlap right there in front of him. You try to defend against it. You see, whoa, this is something. What do I do about this? It's fantastic. The speaker I'm speaking of is Coach Tom Norton, of course, at Georgia Southern University. Coach Norton has years of experience as a coach, teacher, professional player, and lover of the game. If you've met Tom, you know that he comes across as a soft-spoken gentleman, and he is. However, when he takes the field, you just can't mitigate. He demonstrates these tendencies that make him a top-flight player throughout the country. He's been an excellent role model for our players, combining sportsmanship with serious soccer. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Coach Tom Norton.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate those comments and I'm thrilled to be here and excited about the success that you all had not only this year but over the last several years. And it's just a lot of fun to be part of it and enjoyed the summers working with you all. Jim mentioned soft-spoken. That's probably not one of the things my players ever called me, but I'll accept that, I guess, at this point. But really, congratulations, and I appreciate you all inviting me here. One of the things that I thought of when I was thinking about coming here to speak was a story that I heard about 2 weeks ago on TV. I saw what was, I believe, one of the last interviews that Jim Valvano, the former coach of North Carolina State Wolfpack, had talked about it in his speech. Was the first time that he had to get up in front of his players, his first head coaching assignment, and being I'm not too far away from that moment, I remember it vividly, and that's probably one of the most nerve-wracking times to stand up in front of your first team before the first game and try to decide what to say. And the story goes that Jim was trying to decide over several days, feeling about what it was he was going to talk about, and one of his heroes was always the great Green Bay Packers coach, Vince Lombardi. And really before Valvano went to North Carolina State, his first job was as coach of Rutgers, I believe he said it was the Rutgers freshman basketball team. And his responsibility was to get this team ready, and he had read a book from Vince Lombardi, and Lombardi talks about his first ever experience with the Green Bay Packers. And as most of you know, Vince Lombardi was a very fiery competitor, and his first speech, he basically waited outside in the tunnel before the Packers ready for the first game, and walked up and down and paced, and a minute before the players closed on the field, he busted through the doors, and all the players' attention were immediately focused on him. And he said, "Gentlemen, we're going to win this game, and we're going to have a great season for one reason, and that's love. And number one is love of God. Number two is love of family. And number three is the love for the Green Bay Packers." And of course, the guys went nuts, and the rest is history. Valvano read this and just thought, this is just perfect. I'll go to Rutgers, and I'll tell these guys this is what it's all about. Rutgers basketball. So he was standing out in the hallway before the game, and the referees came by and said, "Coach, you got 5 minutes before the game. You're not going to go to the locker room sending your players?" I got under control. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So 2 minutes went by, and some of the people were wondering what's going on. The players in the locker room, wondering where he was. He's standing out there in the hall, and the trainer comes out and says, "Coach, you got to go on in 2 minutes. What are you going to say?" So 1 minute went by, and Valvano was all ready, and had everything set. Busted through the doors, and the doors were locked. So, big bang, and the players all looked around, and they opened up the door to find the coach sitting there on his butt in the tunnel. So they helped him up, and kind of got composed and went in and said, "Gentlemen, we're going to win this game. We're going to have a great season because of one thing, that's love. Number one is love to God, and number two is love of family, and number three is love of the Green Bay Packers." I kind of felt like that the first time I saw it. Unfortunately, the first time I had to do it was in front of a girls' team and a guys' team, which made about 3 times as hard from my standpoint. So one of the things that I want to talk about tonight, Jim mentioned, is the future of soccer in America. And I guess I've been playing this game for about 20 years or more. And he grew up in the Philadelphia area. I was fortunate enough to grow up a couple hours from Philadelphia and a couple hours from New York, where I could go and watch the Cosmos play and see Pele and Kevin Keegan and all the great international stars that came into Philadelphia. And of course, the amazing players that played for the Cosmos through the years. And for all these years, all my coaches and everything I've always heard, and within the soccer community is, someday soccer is going to be all this country talks about. And, no more football, no more basketball, no more baseball, everyone's going to think about soccer. And it's been 20-some years, and there's still no pro leagues. And you don't see any soccer players when we cover Sports Illustrated every week. But as frustrating as that may be, particularly when you read a lot of things in soccer magazines about we have to have a professional league, and why don't we get covered, and the football team gets a full spread in the newspaper, and the soccer team gets a little sentence blurb. Soccer is growing, and people in this room, the players and parents and people that support this are tagged on to something good and something that's going to continue to grow. And I brought some statistics. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of statistics, but when we did a study at Georgia Southern to decide whether we were going to add women's soccer or not, I was asked to put together a bunch of numbers to see is this something that we want to do or not. And although I've been involved in this and seen the growth of it, I was amazed myself at the kind of growth we've had. But the NCAA puts together studies every year about the sponsorship of sports, all sports, through our high schools and through our colleges. And in the year from 1986 to 1987, the girls' participation in soccer increased by 10,000 girls for that one period. These studies continue on through 88 and 89. Not only at the girls is really booming, obviously, but the boys have increased as well, and I think this is kind of the beginning of where the girls really started to take off. But the boys, among high school sports sponsorship, increased by more than 100 schools in the year 88-89 through 89-90. During that same time, the sports of track and wrestling had the biggest declines, and over 17,000 and 9,000 students have participated in those sports respectively. The girls, although it wasn't quite 100 schools, there were 53 schools that added girls soccer in the high schools for that period. And field hockey and volleyball have been the sports that declined over those time frames. And in 89-90 and 90-91, the high school boys soccer, more than 200 schools added soccer. Basketball, track, wrestling, baseball, and football all declined during that same period. The biggest gain in sports participation, again, with soccer, was over 8,000 participants being added that year. Track, basketball, and football had fewer participants. High school sponsorship for girls during that period, there were over 370 schools in that year that added girls programs for high schools, and over 10,000 girl participants in that time frame. In each of these years, the studies, I think, are more significant because the number of high schools period has declined during that time frame. So the numbers, can really be even bigger than that from a percentage point. But soccer is a booming sport, and I think as now that I have a son, he'll have a father that's always played, which is different than me. The first day I came home and said I want to play soccer, my father had no idea what that was. And no one else ever did either in my family. And so as soccer players go through, and their parents know more about it, I think it's just a long process, but the numbers are definitely there. The numbers in Georgia, and again, these are girls' statistics because that's particularly what we're looking at. So in the fall of 1986, there were 855 girls signed up to play in the Atlanta Leagues, and by the fall of 1990, there were almost 2,000 girls signed up to play. During the same time period, from the period of 1979 through 80, the sports of men's soccer and women's soccer increased 4.7% and 28.7% respectively, which translates into women's college soccer teams being added over a 5-year period of 88 schools have added women's soccer and 19 have added men's soccer. And numbers are really more significant when you look at the whole list of sports that are being sponsored, and most of them may increase or decrease a couple each year, but soccer, particularly girls soccer, is just going through the roof. And those things are significant because there's people in this room that have put forth the effort, and people like you all over the country that believe in soccer and believe it's a good sport for their kids and have continued to play it. And I think it's our job, certainly at a college institution like Georgia Southern, to promote soccer. So when the guys get up to the high school age, they look to play soccer in college. I think in state really aspire to be a professional soccer player. And even more difficult now than it was perhaps when I was growing up, and I could go an hour away and watch a Brown second hour play. But the numbers are growing, and there's a lot of exciting things that is happening in soccer. The most important of which, I guess, is going to be a World Cup, which is going to be held here in 1994. There are sites all throughout the country, but Orlando is one of the host sites, which is, I don't know how far away from Dublin, but it's about 5 hours and 15 minutes on a recruiting drill in Georgia Southern. So there'll be a lot of games and a chance to see the best players in the world and the biggest spectacle of all sports in the world here in the United States. And that, I think, will continue to spur the growth of soccer. Women's soccer, for those of you who don't know, the first ever Women's World Cup was held last summer in the United States, won the World Cup, and we have basically the best women's soccer players in the world here in the United States, which is a far cry from the men who are always kind of getting beat up on beating things, not being up to par with English and Brazilians and things like that. So we are making some ground up. The men's team has had great success, and each year has become more and more successful. Our under-20 national team had a game with Turkey about 2 months ago where they won 6-0 against the team that was supposed to win the whole championship. It's just being a coach where I get to go to clinics and talk to and watch films of the World Cup and films of our under-20 national team playing, and just listening to the coaches of those programs talk and discuss the quality of the American players that are coming up through the ranks right now. When I played professional leagues, had a limit the number of foreigners that could play on the team because if you wanted to win the thing, you run all foreign players, and had a couple Americans that sat the bench, and that was the way it went. Today there's probably 3/4 of our U.S. World Cup team that are signing contracts all over the country, or all over the world, from Spain and France to Germany, that are big-time players with big-time contracts. So the future is definitely there, and hopefully the guys will continue to go after it. We'd like to see the growth continue, and I don't think there's any doubt it's going to, both among boys and the girls. But it's definitely a sport that's coming, and I think every year it just keeps getting stronger and stronger, and that's exciting, especially when you put the kind of time and effort into it that I know not only the players do, but the parents do. Traveling one city to the next every Saturday and every Sunday afternoon, every time I leave. The other thing I wanted to address was a little bit of recruiting. When I go recruiting, there's probably the biggest questions of all that parents ask me are all have to do with recruiting, and I think what generally happens is by the time the player is a senior and ready to go into college, his parents and he do not necessarily know what to do or how to go about it. And I think it's frustrating for them as well as for the kids. And there's, in fact, some of y'all had asked me some questions a couple weeks ago when I saw you. I thought it might be something I could touch on real quickly. Recruiting is, in colleges, is probably 99% of jobs, something like that. I spend more time recruiting than I do anything else. I get probably 500 letters a year from kids that want to come to Georgia Southern and play. I have no earthly idea how many letters Clemson and Indiana programs like that get. But the biggest thing that I would recommend as this program has grown and players are now coming out and signing with colleges, looking to go to college, is try to go to some college games and see college soccer and see what it's all about. There are levels of college soccer for everybody. Whether you're a starter on the team or an All-American, or you just play it for fun and don't get a whole lot of playing time. If you want to go on and play college soccer, there's a program for you out there, and you just pretty much have to find it. What I see happen too much is a player who's dead set on playing soccer, and it comes to Georgia Southern when they could not play at Georgia Southern, and their career pretty much comes to an end right there. And it's particularly sad when a player loves the game and put all the time and effort into it, and to be somewhere playing and having a good time and getting the same kind of education they would as well. Maybe not exactly the same kind of education, but it's important that you go out and see what's going on. Out of those 500 kids that write me, there's probably 20 that have actually seen Georgia Southern play. The rest of them have no earthly idea what kind of level to play at. There's colleges here within the state of all different ability levels, all different rules. They come. There's something like 584 colleges across the country that sponsor soccer, and it's an important part of people's lives, and I think it's something that you want to continue on with, and you should be able to continue on with. And the most important thing is to go out and see soccer being played at the colleges. Start early. If you're a sophomore or a freshman, a junior, and you have your sights on playing college soccer, go out and see it played. Go to summer camps. Georgia Southern, Clemson. I heard some people going to Clemson. Of course, I was pretty good at South Carolina, but Clemson's okay. Any program, as much exposure you can get to different colleges and different college programs is what it's all about. And that's what's going to really help you focus in on where you want to go. So when you go off to college and spend all your parents' money, you'll be happy doing it. The other thing is how to go about recruiting. What I like from a kid is someone who writes me and sends me a resume and tells me what he's all about and picks up the phone and calls me and is not afraid to do all those kind of things. I get a lot of letters from someone's dad or someone's coach who writes And for a year and a half of recruiting, kids never called me, never written me or anything else. All I know is that his coach said your player wants to come here. But coaches look for people that are going to step into a college program and step on the field against guys that are, 6'3", 200 pounds that are 23, 24 years old, and we look for guys that we feel mature enough to pick up the phone and call and they'll want to play for us. There's a lot of rules and things involved. Coaches can't talk to you before you're after July 1st of your senior year and things like that, but or of your junior year. But the more you know about the schools you want to go to, the more you know about the programs and the level of different programs play, I think much more effective it's going to be when you go out and try to market yourself and look for a college program to go to. Again, keep it up. If you're like me, you play year-round, or you should play year-round. Put a lot of time, a lot of effort into it, and you want to continue to go. Find a college that's right for you and have fun. That's what it's all about. But again, I appreciate being here, and look forward to seeing a lot of you this summer. And so congratulations on a great year, and I'm sure you'll have many more ahead.
2 years ago, weeks ago, stuff like that. I think I told people I promised them that we would play. We're going to. But just amazing. What are the possibilities we have ahead of us? One of them. But Dr. Langford, they were trying. We didn't really know him, or the team showed him. We now know who this Eric Cannada is. He has had a challenge simply overwhelmed all with this year's success. Garrett has not been a professional worker, but he can communicate with players. Several of us, parents, have had conversations over the last year. We were confident that Eric could handle the kids. What we didn't know, because we'd never seen it, was whether he could handle the game. Soccer coaches can get a little wild. Could he tell the players what adjustments to make at halftime when they're down a goal? So much of soccer depends on attitude. Can he keep them sharp and on track with tactics and strategy? Well, we found out. And we've been pleased, to say the least. Kids respect him in practice and in games. He took the position, could have been wide open for criticism every time he turned around. Took a big heart and a lot of courage to step into it. He was taken on a program that had been successful, and parents were expecting it to continue to be. Pressure was on Eric. Well, let me tell you, he handled it. He delivered, and we're proud of him. Eric.
Like I always do. They play and I stay on the sideline. It wasn't like I had to play. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Again, I want to thank Coach North for coming for what he said, for most of what he said. I'm trying to overlook that one little Gleason baby middle. South Carolina. Coach Sargent, you always look your body, didn't you? Individuals that helped me this year. Of course, our administration. Dr. Warren, he changed the game, changed our state game, and he made an effort. Mr. Waller, Mr. Davis, Coach Barr, we started getting some support from the administration I don't think we had in the past. And I'd like to thank him, and I hope he's going to do said something to him. Mr. Wall was there. He was there at Northeast and was down 1-0, screaming and yelling. Came down there for our little halftime talk and we told them what they needed to do too. So he cares. That was he cares. And we appreciate that. We appreciate it. Parents, I'd like to also say thank you to you. Something I say over and over. First of all, thank you for entrusting your children to me. It's a big step. They're still your babies. You let them go with me. You let me yell at them. You let me drive them on the bus. And tell them what they came back and told us I did. You know, those who see me on the bus. And of course, I need to thank my wife and my children. They put up with me throughout the year being gone and doing things. You know, put a lot of pressure on us. We moved, we had these babies, all at the same time we were trying to play soccer. Just a lot of pressure on the family. I just tell my wife and my children thank you. They put up with me. Now what I'm going to do is, most of y'all know how we did this year. That's why you're here. You're concerned, you know. I want to talk to you a little bit about the season. But when we started out, I didn't know. I was there last year. I knew I thought we should be pretty good. But I didn't know about the other teams in the league. I didn't know how we were going to prepare. I thought we could go in there and do a good job and win some games. But like I was saying, we started out the year, we set some goals. You know, some of them we thought were pretty lofty. We want to win the region. We're going to go to state well. And we set some goals that were high. And then we set realistic goals. We want to be the first team to beat some teams. We want to be the first team to do this. Do that. You know, we set our goals. Some of them we dreamed for. Didn't think we could make it, some of we did. We wound up making and meeting most of those goals. Just want to tell you just a little bit about, so I started writing down kind of things. We started calling it the year first. And we started out, we want to do things first. And that's what we kind of call, we want to call it the year first. We were the first thing to beat Northside and Warner Robins. Not in the area, you don't know. Those are two quality programs. Warner Robins had lost the regular season game in I think 3 years. Only lost one region game in 3 years. And we were the first team to beat them from Dublin. First team from Dublin to go undefeated in the regular season. First team to be the number 1 seed. In other words, we won the regular season for such a thing as that. We were region runner-up. We had 3 players. 3. And Middle Georgia all-star. We've always scrapped and hoped we could get 1. And we had 3. As many as any other team in the area. First team to qualify for the state playoffs. First team to have a player sign a college scholarship. And then again, the first team that had the players play for 4 years. Our seniors played from freshmen to seniors. That's the first group that can say done that. So I think we did a good job meeting that goal. Team was first. We set our goals and we went out for the most part to accomplish. As I said, we went undefeated in the regular season. We rounded up our season with 11-2 record. We lost the last 2 games. Region finals and in the first round of the state playoffs. Both games were games that we got beat by a wide enough margin to say we were beat, but both games we felt like we were in, we could play with the team. We weren't outplayed. We weren't outplayed. Different games that are memorable to me this year. Our first game against Northside, I would say the crowd for that game was down to maybe 5 parents that really, really wanted to come. That game was in a month. We played by knee water. It was the most rain I've ever seen. It was the word delusion. We went, I think we went 9 games this year before we were ever behind. I didn't have to make a whole lot of halftime strategies. You know, I didn't have to. Well, I did halftime. We went 9 games before we were behind in the game. You know, the closest game we had up until midway through the season, Warner Robins at halftime, it was 0-0. They didn't put me in situations a lot of times that I had to do a lot of halftime adjustments because, remember, I was on the sideline, they play. We keep it simple. The game that we were behind in was the Northeast game. A lot of you there, I said that was the one that Mr. Waller came down and spoke to us at halftime. And I was glad somebody was going to speak from halftime, because I was trying to bite my tongue. And we go too. We came back and we won. Showed a little character. Another game that we'll remember was Central in the semifinal of the region. The wind was blowing about 50 miles an hour that day, I think. Jamie would line up, take a goal kick as hard as he could, and he'd come back to him. If you were there, it was a windy game. The only game this year that another team dominated us. In the second half, they played on our end of the field because of their skill, because of the wind. That was an exciting game. We won 1-0. A lot of celebration because when we won that one, we knew we were going to the state. And like I said, being the finals of the region, that was a memorable game. Playing Clarkson in the state playoff, teams ranked number 9 in the state. They beat 3-0. Again, they beat 3-0. They didn't come out to it. They didn't run away with it. Soccer 3-0 was a pretty big score. If you were there, you know the margin of victory was not that great. They gave them 2 and they earned 1. So you can say they beat us 1. Now, what we got to look forward to next year? We're graduating 8 seniors today. It's hard to reflect. Not only for their skill, not only for their experience, but their team leadership. These are the seniors that started this program. Next year, remember that. 8 seniors are leaving. Tell all the coaches in the league that ask me, what are y'all going to do? Like 8 seniors are leaving. I don't add the second part. We had 8 freshmen. Those 8 freshmen played. We'll be expecting a lot from the underclass right now for next year. Players, you need to work in the off-season. You know it. Already told you. You need to be in the weight room, working on quickness, working on strength. You need to have a soccer ball. You need to find some drills. Go to camp. Do things to make yourself better. Play other sports. Whatever it is you need to do things to make yourself better. That's the way we'll become a better team. Remember, I'll stay on the sidelines when you play. Don't make it hard. Next thing I want to get to is what we all came here tonight. And that's to recognize the players. Remember, that's what tonight's for. As Coach Cannada come in, that was great. Enjoy listening to him. Mainly we want to come and we want to see the players and what they're going to do. Mr. Hollingsworth, you'll help me now. I'm going to start calling out the names. And what I want to start with is what I call special presentation, special awards. Some special people that help me out a lot. First of all, our statisticians. Without them, it becomes a lot harder. They do things on the sidelines, we overlook them. Y'all may not notice them, but the girls sit on the sidelines, they keep you a record of everything that's going on. That's how I can tell how many goals are scored in the year by first players, how many saves are going in. They work hard. They do a lot for us. They sing on the bus too, we'll overlook them. These one of the statisticians, I want to recognize them. First of all, we have Ivy Colfax. If y'all come up this conference, Sunday week. Another person that I don't think here tonight that you may have started seeing halfway through the season or so was W.C. Dover. WC, I talked to him over the week, he had somebody had to go. I don't know if many of you know who he is. He was the person that started being our trainer. He started going to the games with us and taking care of the injuries and the nicks and little things happening during the game, which clears me to free me up to stay on the sidelines and watch him play. I'm telling you, that's all I do. WC, now he gave his own time. He didn't get paid for it. At this time, he wanted to do it. He shot with Coach Barnes. He did it for other sports. He did it for us. Not just one second now. He even went to Warner Roberts in the finals, and he went to the state game with him. Couldn't wait for his family. Things he was doing. We came out and helped other spots. I want you to know when you see him, he's going to thank you. Another award that, presentation I want to make is something that somebody means a lot to me for soccer. What they've shown me, what they've done for me. Help me out, not only learning the game, but lead work, doing things, running in, picking things up. And I just want to recognize them and give them a plaque with a team picture on it, because they helped start this program. And I don't want to shut the doors like they're not welcome. But as far as the players are concerned, we still the coach. And that's Virgil Hollingsworth. Mr. Hollingsworth wanted to start the coach. He started. This plaque is a little different than some of the other ones on the bottom of it. It's not coaching the inaugural team. This is the team that started. The seniors started 4 years ago. He helped start the program and coached them. We had it down on the bottom here so we can open chairs today. Now what I'm going to start doing is calling out seniors, the players. They're going to come by, and as they come by, they're going to send Mr. Hollingsworth to a letter, get a plaque, and get a t-shirt. Each one will get. Guys, when you get it, I want you to line up across the front of it. Okay? We're going to start with the freshmen. First of all, Duncan. Michael Fennell. Jeffrey Fletcher. Marshall Frost. Jeremy McClure. John Mullen. Josh Owen. David Whiddon. Sophomore class, which is our smallest class by far. Jason Marlin. Tyler Lee. That was the smallest class by far. The junior class, Jimmy Edwards. John Griggs. Matt Hollingsworth. Jeff Langford. I don't think he's got executive. A lot better this year. He gives about 4 or 5 yellow cards. I told him at the end of the year I didn't let him and got a yellow card. Jeff took me serious and he dragged up a few of them. I think he's going to do a few letters away. Neil McCoy. Brian Burke. Brian's our family score. You saw his first game or read in the paper about Northside. He scored 3 goals. He and Scott somehow switched jerseys before the game. The team is Northside and everybody else. Very bad. Coach Cannada. Norman Thacker. Next we'll have our senior class. Like I said, 6 of these players started the program. They started it 4 years ago and they played each year. These 4 seniors, this is Coach Hollingsworth on his flag, and the bottom of one of their flags will say member of the inaugural team. So they've done something special. They started and stuck with it. Justin Clark. David Duncan. He's a member of the inaugural team. Garrett. Jeremy Hill. He's played now for 3 years. Bill Hollis. He's been with us 4 years. I've never been able to coach this year about this. Tell me why. What I wanted to know. He played with 4 years. Samaria Party. He played with 4 years. Stop with it. This is 1993 Dublin High School soccer team. This is a team that has accomplished a lot. They have a lot to be proud of. Little story I told you. I was an assistant last year. We did well. We tied the second in the league. We went into a tiebreaker. We wound up being senior fourth in the playoff game. We were playing a team that we beat the week before. So we felt confident. Probably a little overconfident we win that game. They beat us in double overtime. We didn't get off the field good before. Other players were making jokes and, it was gone and done with it. And so you know me, I'm a very aggressive coach. I get into whatever I'm coaching. And that bothered me. It bothered me for 5 years. And I knew that I was going to be coming back as the head coach. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle that. Because I don't mind you losing. Put forth everything you got and put on the field and you care. When I started the season, I came to them and I told them, I thought we had a good team, we should work at it, they could try to be better, they could really work, or they could tell me they want to have a good time, let them play, and I could be out there fishing every evening by about 4:30, 5 o'clock if they wanted to. Either way, I let them make a call. They wanted to win, they wanted to be good, so I pushed them and made them work. This year, when we got beat in the first round of the state playoffs, we played a good game. We got beat by a better team. But some of them had tears in their eyes. They were upset. That made me feel good. Because I know they cared. And as far as young men, they've grown a lot in the past year. Some of them in the past 2 years have lost to a team they should have beat. And not caring to get beat by a team that couldn't and caring. They've done well. I'm going to call the seniors up one more time. We have another special award or a special presentation for them. And each one of those we've had a photographer that said correspondence and papers done a lot for us. You may not think they do. We may not get the headlines that some of the other sports get. But for a soccer team, especially in the town this size, we get a lot of support. And Joey took some action photos, and we had those blown up and had framed for the seniors. And each one is a picture of them. So we'll call them out, let them each come up, get the picture, so stand up in front of them. First of all, Justin Clark. David Duncan. Jamie Garrett. Jeremy Hill. Bill Holly. James Hinton. James Hinton. Mary Spotty. Scott Whiddon. Joey took these pictures, and the Booster Club framed and mad them, and I turn around and show them. I think each one of them has a really good picture, something I hope they can share for a while. Thank you, guys. I'm going to get out of here. And now, as I said, we have some individuals on this team that have done some really good things this year. And now I'll take a little time to honor or notice some of the individual achievements of some of the players. First of all, we'll call up here somebody who's there. We just named Player of the Week in the Macon Telegraph. And that's for Bill Georgia. And in that week, they did the best. That's Zach Duncan. And the week Zach was named, we had 2 games, he scored 3 goals and had an assist. Zach scored 3 goals and had an assist for the week, and they chose him as the outstanding soccer player of North Georgia for that week. And I need to put an asterisk because I feel like we should probably have, a few other players, but he was the one that was named. They didn't call me until final 2 weeks of season, and asked me if I had anybody that was good enough to be named. I want to take what was back here because he was the player of the week. He earned it that week. And we had some other ones that did other outstanding things that probably would have been player of the week had I been asked and had I known that they did player of the week in North Georgia. As I've always said, the player that signed the first college scholarship to play soccer for us, Jamie Garrett. If you haven't seen it, I think Jamie's picture is in the Curryville today. He signed with Coach Mitchell, and Jamie's going to be playing down there at River Park College for the next 4 years. We know some good things about Jamie. But he was the first. Middle Georgia All-Star team, we had 3 players chosen this year. Okay, that's the most we've had in one single season. In the Middle Georgia area, that's the most that any team had. I think Mount Estelle and Stratford had 3 each. Warner Robins had 1. Northside had 1. So we did something nobody else in our region did. First of all, Norman Thacker. The next player we had in the Village Georgia All-Star was Scott Whiddon. Last one we had in the Village Georgia All-Star was Duncan. Like I said, these 3 were chosen as 3 of the best in the Middle Georgia area. Give another round of applause. another one that requires a lot of honor. In Georgia, what they do is have 2 boys all-star games for the state. Metro and Perimeter. And on our team, David Duncan was chosen as a member of the Perimeter State All-Star Team this year. David will come up and see the David also started an All-Star game until about 2 weeks ago in Atlanta. So we're proud of David and what he did and what he accomplished. Now we're going to our team awards. And the first 2 we're going to call out are new awards, something I've added this year. And all I did for these 2 awards is look through the statistics and see who is the best in certain areas. And then after that, players voted. So the first one we're going to have is an award for most assists. Because if somebody doesn't pass you the ball, you can't score. You've got to have somebody willing to give the ball up. And these 2 show that they can do it better and get it more often than anybody else on the team. And we have time for most assists. There's 7 assists for each one of these players. The first one we'll call up here, I'll be glad when we come back next year, is Matt Hollingsworth. The next one we had was Scott Whiddon. There was Matt's 7 assists. He had 6 goals. So he accounted for 34 goals, 13 goals this year. None were bigger than one in the semifinal. 1-0, he scored the only goal. I think Scott got the assist on it. So they worked well together. Scott finished the year with 12 goals. He was in the top 3 in goal scoring in the league. He did a very good job both scoring and passing the ball. Most assists, thanks to him. The next one, from here on out, the players voted. The next one is one I'm glad I didn't have to vote on. The most improved player. 14 different people received a vote. That tells you, we started out real bad. Or some of these players really improved as the year went on. Well, 14 different people received a vote. What was amazing to me was that some of the ones that received votes were starters. And I was kind of curious as to how somebody felt that starter could improve that much. 14 different people received a vote. That tells you one thing about how hard they work and how hard they pay attention to each other. You know, as far as where they started and came from and where they ended. It would have been hard to pick for me one person and say they improved the most. I'm glad the players voted on it. The one they chose was David Whiddon. Now, I teach with David said, he told me straight up when David was coming out to the team, he said, "You've not played in years. Don't think you can do it. Cut it." I said, "All right, Coach, I'll keep that in mind." David came out, he worked hard, he tried out with us, and he was one of those, I was considered to be on the bubble. But I liked his heart. I knew a lot about him in his day of coaching in football and coaching in wrestling. I knew he had a heart. So he come out there, let him stay, and he worked hard and he improved. And they chose him as the one to improve the most. Starting where he did, he made some great strides. I'm looking forward to him sticking with it if he wants to, and wait to see what he can do with the seniors. Next thing we have is outstanding offensive player. This could go to the person who scores the most goals, because this person has the most assists. The team voted on it. The team got to choose what they felt the player that helped him out most offensively. And that player was David Duncan. was 13 goals and 4 assists. I don't remember after the playoff game, I don't know how other players did in the league, but the last report I had, that was the highest in the league, 13 goals. That leads us into our next category, most goals scored. And this year on our team was David Duncan with 13. Now, if you're asking again about how it's going to be next year, remember, we call out David Duncan with 13 goals and Scott Whiddon with 12. 25 goals gone. Both of us seniors. That's time for replacement. The most outstanding defensive player, again, I am glad I didn't have to vote on this. I think I was one player. Our starting defense went into the 10th game of the season before they gave up the goal that the other team scored, not James. James did 4 goals. We gave up goals before then, but we had our entire starting unit out there together at one time. We went, I think, it was the 10th game of the season before we gave up a goal. So, if you just look at the stars and look at the people replacing them, we got people replacing them as good as the ones that were starting. But again, I'm glad I didn't have to choose. First person is the person you got to have on the team is kind of a cornerstone. You want to be that can football strong up the middle. Just take them inside that field, straight down the middle. You want to be having strong players up the middle. You want to have a good forward up front, a good fullback, and then a good goalie. And our first person to receive a tie for the vote was Norman Thacker. Next player who came in tied with the vote, the most outstanding defensive player, was Jeff Langford. Even though I made fun of him, even though he was a senior, and he did score for the other team, Garrett. You want to be strong in the middle. You look at these three. You look at our defense. You stand on one, you look down the other. You'll see Jeff, Jamie, and Norman. That's the three and how they line up. Sweeper, stopper, and goalie. And that's a big reason. It's not the only reason. That's a big reason why we didn't give up 7 goals all year long in the regular season. 14 goals throughout the year in playoffs and all included. Because of the work of these three and communication they have. Great job, guys. Now, the one I've known you've been waiting on, most valuable player. This one came with a tough one. You can look at goal scoring, you can look at goal saves, you can look at assists, you can just look at team leadership. A lot of different people look at the most valuable player different ways. They voted on it. Each one had their own reasons. I hope they picked the person that they felt like they're most needed for this team. For what he did for the team, what he gave the team, leadership, work ethic, player they could hopefully at least do without. Deal with hard. 3 different people received votes. They narrowed it down. They're starting to think. They're starting to show the young adult. The most valuable player of this year's team was Norman Thacker. Defensively, we only gave up 7 goals through 10 games. Well, 7 goals for 11 games this year. Right? Call it my defense and we call it Norman. Throughout the whole year, 13 games, we gave up 14 goals. Now, it was weak there at the end, but we played better teams. 14 goals in 13 games. We've only given up 1.1 goal a game. That's pretty good. I got to count today. I'm going to see how many saves on there. You like picture? Take a picture. 118 goalie saves. Going good. When you're in the middle of the first round of state game, you didn't beat 3-0. He's out there diving around. He's out there making saves. And that sideline judge comes up to you and says, "Hey, you got a keeper you can keep there, coach. You know you got somebody special." Like I said, a lot of people could have won it. A lot of people could have done a good job. They felt, we felt, this was the player that we need the most on our team this year. Norman Thacker, the most valuable player. Good job. All right, before I leave, guys, I want to remind you. Sometimes it's easier to come from the unknown and reach up and knock the other ones off. This year, the Dublin not expected to do much. What are you going to do next year when they point that finger? You know that time? I told you, they're going to want to beat you, they're going to point at you, they're going to say they're better. Next year's going to be that much tougher. They're going to point their finger at you, now they're going to want to beat you. Y'all are going to have to work. Make yourself better. In the weight room, with the soccer ball, go to camp. I can't do that for you. Your parents can't do it for you. If you want to be better, if you want to continue with the success you have, you'll work with it. Don't forget that. Again, I want to say, thank you. I keep it simple. I spend on the sideline and you play soccer. So keep that up and we'll have another good year next year. Good job, guys.
Dr. Langford.
Last year, the word about Virgil got out a little late. They get away last year. Maybe think he was at least formally as he should have. But you get up here, you got to focus on the back. You get to make the family look nervous. I promise you, those of you there, it won't be quite as long as the football thing is going on. Still got to do one day, the next day after last year's football thing, because I didn't know it was. We won't know at 11:30 after the football, okay? But what I wanted to do is get up here and thank Virgil and reminisce a little bit about what it was like. Because I do believe in answered prayer. And I think Virgil Hollingsworth and their families were answered prayers at a time that in Dublin, we needed them to do. You can't help but think about kids getting older, times go by. Enjoy it, guys, because you only go around once. And you got 4 shots, 4 years to make them count. But Norman made it count. And I remember over there, he doesn't know, or maybe he does now, how much that stop on that penalty kick meant when we beat Warner. Because when they were 11 years old, we took a recreation team over there at Warner Robins. We'd been drilled the year before. We lost to Warner Robins 1-0 in double overtime. Trey Nelson just missed one post. We got out of there with a win. I remember telling my wife, I wish I could go back over there and take another team. But as close as it got was to go here this year and see us beat Warner Robins. I'm going to remember that till the day I die, and I couldn't have been prouder of Norman and the rest of you guys than I was if you were my own. Now, I sit here and I think about what we have to be thankful for, and one thing we need, I think, to remember is our athletic director. Because for before the Hollingsworths and the Edwards were here, there was a lot of background work going on, trying to get soccer in over here at the high school. And to do like some of us did, including myself, sit up there in the principal's office with the previous administration, try to talk to principals, try to talk to athletic directors and football coaches. Basically, the bottom line of some of my conversations with them was, well, if you won't support it, we could at least leave it alone. And now, we've got our administration, Mr. Waller, Mr. Beatty, and of course, the athletic director, Sam Bard. And, they care. I mean, they want you guys to put somebody. And I think that's been proven and commented on about Mr. Waller and his halftime speech. But with Coach Bard, you represent Dublin High School, wearing green and gold. I mean, he wants you to play hard. But two things come to mind about Coach Bard. Because last year, he invited himself to ride over to Nick Central. And one thing he told Jeff up there at Central, I want to see some blood out there. Now, the first game, Jeff got thrown out. And he was inspiring him to play well. The other thing I remember was this year. You remember that time, I can't remember if it was Northeast or who we were playing, but the referee just about, he warned Coach Cannada that if the fans didn't calm down, he was going to forfeit the game. Guess who, after we all buzzed, and even Jerry Marlin got quiet. Guess who's up there riding the refs but Coach Bard? But at any rate, we didn't forfeit. We won the game, and we went ahead. These kids, these juniors and seniors, one of the conversations we had with the administration and all about trying to, who are you going to play? How are you going to travel? How are you going to get there? Where are you going to get the uniform? The main question is who are you going to play? But we've been playing soccer around here, guys here, probably most of us since you were 86 or so. And they keep talking about another step. I mean, it was fun for me to go watch a baseball game and have Larry Shank and Mike Hogan and some of these other sport daddies. But y'all got the big head down at Steve Warner Robins. It's like, we need Warner Robins. And they know that. Warner Robins is the only team until this year that had won a playoff game against the Metro Atlantic team. And that was about 2 years ago when they beat Alexander for them. But they knew we could do something. And I say we because everybody in this room is part of we. But I remember one other thing, there's still one thing to make up. We paid Warner Robins back. The way I look at it, we're co-champions with them. They were 11-1, we were 11-1, we split. And that's the way I'm going to look at it. But we hadn't, we maybe heard the season play next year. And I'm still not so sure. This may be fighting off a big chunk, but they want to play off games this year too. So I'd like to go back to Columbia, Canada. I'd like to pay them back. Maybe, just maybe, we can schedule them even if we have to go up there. But then I sit back and I look at these seniors. And I remember playing in red ball against Justin Clark, him hustling up and down the field. One thing I remember also, about his daddy, the coach, was Alan Palmer. I remember one time I was talking to my team after we had won, and Alan comes up at one of our practices, and he leans over the fence and he holds up a fishing rod. And he said, "You may have won the trophy, but did your parents get you a fishing rod?" Of course, David Duncan's next on the list. And I think plenty's been said about David, but I never could get him on my team, but I could get him on these all-star teams. And I always remember how well David ran. I mean, we used to talk about, hey, run like a gazelle, and I enjoyed watching David go up and play hard. I remember Jamie Garrett. In rec ball, and I remember that I called Shank one time. One of my ways of trying to win was to call Shank, but he had him last year. I said, "What about this Garrett one?" And Shank said, "You better get him." And I had enough sense to play him in the right position, because we were like, "So I think you're a fullback, and I think you can play somewhere if we go get to that high-school team." And he certainly had. I remember Jeremy Hill. I remember him playing with Greg Williams. Greg Williams had a lot of good teams. I remember Bill Holly. And I had Bill Holly on my team several times. One year he got signed up or something. I don't remember quite what happened. He got put on another team. He got thrown back in the draft, and I couldn't get him. But one night he was playing goalie, and I guess he was 10 or 11 years old. We had a pretty good team. And we were down there, and I swear, Bill Holly must have had 50 saves in one half. We could not get the ball in the goal. And I remember him looking over there, and he looked at me one time and said, "How am I doing, Coach?" I was on your team last year, you remember? I said, I started to do it. But he played out of the turn that time. I remember Jay Jenkins. I had Jay Jenkins on my team, so I got him in the right place. But he played wing, and he was up and down and fast. Played well at that position. I've enjoyed that. I remember Samir Upadia being on Allen's team. I remember Samir making the All-Star. And I remember Samir being down there because right about the time we had taken you guys about as far as you could go, but we were at the end of our rope before the Edwards and the Hollingsworth came. I can remember Samir being part of that crowd, and I'm on the phone begging you guys to come out one season, and we couldn't find anybody for you to play. I didn't know about all these other teams like Jim did across the state and that sort of thing. But Samir was one of those people that would come down there on the far corner of the practice field at night and say, "If y'all hang with me this year, let's just practice. We'll find somebody so we can play somehow." And I did what Jim did. But I remember Samir down there being one of those loyal people. And Scott Whiddon, I don't know where he was. I guess Scott shouldn't go by without somebody noticing that I walked in. He was probably off playing something else. And of course, he was the found scorer against Northside, and last year, you know, he was even more of a found. But you know, if you stop and count up, and I guess it's Daddy's here somewhere, I think, if I counted right, I don't know if anybody that's ever gone through Dublin High School has ever wore varsity leather. I think it was 4 in wrestling, 3 or 4 in football. Should have been 4 in soccer, but for the family year. But I guess he got 9, 10, 11 letters, and I don't know if he can do that today. Let's see. I can't help but think about this group of seniors. You know, Sham Reddy was a good goalie too. Sham's kind of spiritually, I guess, part of the team, so we seem to watch him play some this year. And you know, Sham's really a year younger than started school earlier, skipped a grade or something as part of this class. But I can remember Sham being on some of my teams. Sham always was bugging me to play goalie. And one reason we used to alternate around a little bit. We let our goalies play for a quarter. We let them play wing. The one thing we did on defense, and this is because I didn't know anything about soccer, but we took defense and took Jim Edwards to teach y'all some offense. But I can remember Sham saying, "Let me play goalie, let me play goalie." It was like, why? And we made our wings go back and play defense. I mean, it might be 1-0. We were going to beat you. You're going to have a hard time trying to score. We used to make our wings go all the way back and play defense. And he was always wanting to get out of that and go play goalie and not have to run so much. So we used to talk about all the way up, all the way back. Well, then we had a coaching game. 1 year after the season, the coaches got together. We played recreation people, and I think Rob Cook might have been on the team. I remember young Larry Shank was on there, and some of the referees, Sandy Ford was on there. Well, they beat us old coaches 1-0. But I remember that we used to, you know, everybody at that age, maybe 10 years old and stuff, wanted to play forward or striker, go in there and score. None of them wanted to play defense. But I remember I was getting kind of, I'm not a shade bad anyway, but I remember I was dogging it out there. And Sham came running out there. We let them be the coaches, of course, the boys. Sham came out there, and he had Brian Anderson with him, who used to play back then. They came running out. He said, "Hey, Dr. Langford." Yeah, he said, "You're going to play forward for me. You got to go all the way up." But I won't bore you with the rest of this, but I just want to thank this group of people. And I won't do this next year. This will be my final shot at this. Maybe come talk to Jerry Marlin or Ken Whiddon in the reminiscing video a little bit. But if you're interested as you leave today, we've got some cutouts of what some of these kids look like. You know, when they were back 10 and 11 years old from recreation back, the Courier Herald has always been good about putting the All-Stars in pictures. You might like to see what some of these kids look like when they were that age. We've got some programs in here when we went out of town and played soccer. And I looked through the one over there in Warner Robins and noticed when we played the Bays, there was another team over there from Houston County. I know y'all remember that guy Jeff got the fight with over Houston County last year. His name was Jake Wiggins, and he's in here. It's just kind of interesting to see the names from Warner Robins. Some of their kids like Rob Mitchell was one of their All-Stars. They were in here, and I'm sure their parents are enjoying them going up too. But in conclusion, this Garrett, and it's great that Eric goes on and continues. Virgil set the foundation. But what this reads is, one little thing I like to do is, the coaches and the dads and the players, I consider somewhat of a team. I've got a number 5 down here in the corner. That's the son, but I hope I didn't blow that. I think that's right, man. Is that right? Anyway, but what it says is, in appreciation of Virgil Hollingsworth, an all-pro coach, Dublin High School soccer, 1990 to 1960, prior efforts provided the foundation for an undefeated regular season, 9-0, 1993, number 5.
Now, I'd like to make a presentation to Garrett and coaches. The black and white picture, I believe this is the one in your book, chapter 4. Kids all look great. And I have to do baseball, I know I do. And just to make sure that they didn't overlook it. Because sometimes it signals towards the soccer. Look, believe me. I want to make sure that they had to signal towards the soccer players and coaches of the year. There couldn't have been another winner besides Eric Cannada. He was voted with a very nice article, with a very nice picture, a very amazing telegraph, where he discussed soccer in Dublin. He was very complimentary to Virgil, very complimentary to his players, as he always did. This is Coach Eric Cannada, Bacon Telegraph, all Middle Georgia Soccer Coach of the Year, 1993.
This part is the annual. This is probably brings more to me than they will in 2 reasons. One, because I had Joey Wilson come out and professional make it with the dress differently. 2, this is the only team picture we're all in. The only picture it is. It's only before the game, so I made sure that I would get all of them in it. All the other team pictures we had, I think we had 4 this year. Somebody was missing. Right front. You know, again, Coach of the Year, I joke about it, I tease about it, and around me, I joke a lot about it, but, you know, it means a lot to me. I appreciate it. You call it anything, I appreciate it. It should have come as a real big surprise, you know, because I told you, Phil, did I tell you? But I learned something. I didn't know you were a goalie. If I'd known you were a goalie, we could just kick the ball in the goal. You don't know that the joke we had with Bill was about 4th game of the season. He missed. When the goalie was over in the left-hand corner of the field, there was no goalie in the goal, and goalie Bill was kicked that down. So I told him, Bill would ever score. I was a coach of you. I was speaking, you know, I didn't know they had such a thing. I was speaking to you. You know, this on it, you know, it's got my name on it. It means something to y'all because you're the ones that want it. You're the ones that want to give it to the folks. I may have got a little bit of recognition for it. But I hope it does come to the Dublin soccer and help put it on the map a little bit. And I hope y'all feel good about it because I've already had to put it in something. You know, you want that because of me. And I was joking, it's the truth. I mean, it's true. I didn't. not pretty simple, man. I'm still learning about soccer. Don't get excited and thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, when you leave, Mr. Hollingsworth cut out the ball for you. All right, each one have a number on it. It's yours. Girls, y'all have one too. And the balloons each got a number on it. You can take one of those if you want to. If you don't, I'm sure Bryce will love it. Everybody who's got a number and a ball. And we thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. Mr. Hollingsworth has 3 t-shirts, I think, the Dublin soccer ones. Not the one tonight, the Dublin soccer ones, $6 each for any parents, anybody that wants one. I want to stay on something. We have to measure t-shirts. Anybody else would like to be here? Thanks a lot for coming.
It's going to take long, guys. What happens is we formed a nomination committee, and myself, Mary Duncan, and Bill Murray. And we were trying to find some people who would be willing to serve as officers and directors next year to make a good transition into the year. And I want to make that report to Mr. Club right now. And I'll open the floor for nominations, and then I'd like to have a...
I'm always saying home and everything. I always help be quiet, sound like a frog. Riding down the road. One song that is sort of bouncing.
It's Norman said he sound like a frog.
Real family by Sister Sledge. And we are a family. We're the soccer family. The soccer family is different than the other families I've been a member of. Football families, baseball families, wrestling families, they're all great families. Ours is different. For some reason, it's more family participation in this sport than any sport I have participated in or I've had my son in. We are family. The other song that sort of bounced around my head is Some Gave All by Billy Ray Cyrus. The girls were swooning. When I think of the words, all gave some, and some gave all, I would just like to take a moment to do something on a personal basis here. Where's Ken Whiddon? Ken, come here, please. I did not know Ken until this year. I've earned a new family member, and I've developed a respect and a love for Ken. If you ever want anybody to help you with barbecue, he's the guy who does it all. We were walking in tonight and said, I got to meet Duncan tonight. He said, you guys should have told me.